Welcome to Linda's Corner. My name is Linda Bjork, and today we're going to be talking about our spiritual journey. I'm delighted to welcome Amrit Singh. Amrit is a high momentum life coach, spiritual seeker, and expert in meditation and Kundalini yoga. You can reach Amrit at his website, coachingnow.info, and I'll include a link in the show notes. Welcome, Amrit. I'm so glad that you could join with me today.
Well, thank you for having me. So happy to be here.
Thank you. I am delighted to be talking about a spiritual journey. And we're going to separate that a little bit from the idea of a religious journey, because we can have a spiritual journey and be on the same journey, even if we're different religions. For example, I'm a Christian and you follow the Sikh religion, and that's awesome because we are both on a spiritual journey. So would you mind kind of explaining for most people kind of how one can help the other or even hinder the other?
Yeah, it's actually one of my favorite subjects because I feel it's so relevant and it's such an important thing to talk about. And so for me, I think religion was great for thousands of years because it provided structure. It provided separation. It provided, here is the right thing to do. Don't worry about thinking about it yourself. Just do what I tell you, kind of like, how we love to raise our kids. Just do what I tell you and don't think for yourself, and then you'll be okay. Unfortunately, that's not how it works, right? It worked like that a couple of thousand years ago. So with treating our kids that way today, we all know who have kids that backfires very quickly in your face when you tell them to do something just because you said it's the right thing. And I think this is the biggest flaw which religion is still carrying. And it is the same for all the religions. And so that was for me always the biggest thing I struggled with. And I would probably say for myself in today's time, I'm less of a religious person than I was 5 years or 10 years ago, because I'm growing more and more into my spiritual identity. I love wearing my turban. I love wearing my beard just because I love it as being part of my spiritual identity. But the religious identity, I don't want to be separated. I don't want to be put in a box. I don't want to be saying like, oh, my box is better than your box, right? Because ultimately, all these paths lead back to the center. And the center is the same, no matter if we call it Allah or we call it God or we call it something else, and we do whatever. But the connection to our spiritual identity is the same for every single one of us. And so for me, I kind of see religion like a scaffolding. When you build a beautiful tall tower, you need that scaffolding. It's so important. You need that structure. You need to be able to work on it. You need to be able to build it and grow it. And you can't do it without the structure and the scaffolding. And someone telling you, build it really straight. No, don't build your scaffolding crooked. Do it the same way I tell you to do it. It's really safe. It's straight. But then there comes the point when your beautiful tower is built where you can let go of the scaffolding and you realize we're all one anyway. But that doesn't make the scaffolding bad. This is another pet peeve I have with it, is like people making religion bad or making being religious a bad thing, right? Saying, oh, yeah, you must be XYZ because you call yourself religious. No, I'm using the scaffolding to grow my tower. What do? You sit around watching TV, complaining about the world. What's the better approach here, right? How do you get to your spiritual identity? How do you find a way inwards? And for me, it's important to remind people, you're on a path. You are Christian, you are Buddhist, you are Sikh. Stick with your faith, stick with your path. Go deeper to your real deep connection of your true identity, of your true self, and then realize that we're all the same. It doesn't matter which path you're going because you're all going to get to the same point.
I love that. And I like the analogy of the scaffolding. And that's something my husband and I have used as well, where we feel that it is a scaffold to help build something that is beautiful. And I love when you comment that doesn't make the scaffolding bad. It makes it a means to an end. And that is for us to build our relationship with God and to be our relationship also with ourselves. And so that is lovely. And what a wonderful thing to be able to say, even that this scaffolding is, and this scaffolding, I value all of the scaffolding because they are all helping to build something beautiful, and that we can be unified in building something beautiful. So if someone is, thinking maybe I've been a little tainted with religion, it just left kind of a yucky taste in my mouth, but maybe I'm going to try to look at it another way, and maybe I'm going to think about starting a spiritual journey. How would you kind of help them get started about where do you start?
What helped me was to go into experience. And that experience can be a ritual in the forest with nature. That experience can be chanting mantras in a temple. That experience can be a gratitude exercise and going inwards. That experience can be going on a 5-kilometer run every day and feeling that runner's high and being like, oh my God, I feel so much more myself and more connected. But what really did make the difference for me is to put things into action and to truly experience my being, my identity, my light, my expansion, my radiance, my connectedness. And whatever did that for me, that's what you should do. So if reading prayers does that for you, read more prayers. If singing in the choir does that for you, go sing more often. If singing in the shower does that for you, sing more often in the shower. If hugging your child and giving them a kiss does that for you, hug your child more often. So find your way which connects you. The joys of working on the internet. This usually just happens for a few minutes and then it goes right back to normal and everything is perfectly okay. But these
Okay.
few minutes, this happens, and I don't know why it happens. It's just part of the living in Mexico experience.
What part of Mexico are you in?
I'm near Mexico City in Valle de Bravo.
And of all the world, what made you choose there?
Well, my wife is Mexican, and she left Mexico when she was 17. And now coming back over 20 years later was really huge for her. And we wanted our kids to have a connection to Mexico. Both my kids are very German. They're both very tall, very strong boned. They're both blonde. They both have blue eyes. And it's funny because my wife and I both have brown eyes. And so that got a lot of that German genetic because my wife's father is French. And so that combination kind of created the genetic force. And so both kids were very German looking. And so we felt it was important for them to just connect to their Mexican heritage and learn about that too. And it's a beautiful place to live. I mean, we live in paradise here. It's amazing.
Oh, lovely. Well, I think living in paradise is a wonderful thing. Well,
Yeah.
we still have a connection. Do we dare put our faces on yet, or?
Let's just try it. I mean, let's see what
Our
happens.
5 minutes
Worst case
are up.
scenario, it kicks us off again, and then we'll deal with it.
Yeah, and that's all right. Okay. Well, fantastic. All right. Well, so you have French, German, Mexican, and a beautiful combination with blonde hair, blue-eyed children.
Yeah.
So girls, boys?
My daughter is 15 and my son is 11 now.
Oh, lovely, lovely. And do they speak English and Spanish? And do they also speak French and German, or?
They don't speak a lot of French. They do speak German. They did learn a little bit of Punjabi, which was a local Indian language, but they're into learning French too. Like when you have a certain amount of languages, you're like, oh, I could just learn another language, because then it doesn't matter if you know 4, you know 5, you know 6, it's all the same.
That's beautiful. And you lived in India with your family for a while?
Yeah, 20 years.
20 years. Is that where you met your wife?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we met in the US, but we saw each other and then we got together in the US and then we moved back to India and then we visited in Germany and in Mexico. And so we're kind of world citizens.
Yes, you are. Very much so. And that's quite beautiful. And I think that's part of why you have such an open mind about things, And to be able to, when you have more experiences and we're able to see, oh, you are like this, and that's awesome. And oh, you are like this, and that's cool too. I think that's a beautiful thing.
No, it's
All right.
amazing. And
Well, I've been
I
able
mean,
to
to add
see,
to this, just because
yeah.
you just prompted this thing, this was what I loved about the school we had in India, where we worked for 20 years, because we had kids from 20 different nations there. And so we had kids from India, from China, from South Africa, from all over Europe, from Canada, from South America. And so it was this beautiful mix where not just for us adults, we got to learn about other cultures, but also for my kids to grow up around kids from other cultures. So my daughter had a boyfriend who was from China, and then like was these normal things, right? To know someone from Chile and someone from Canada, and make fun of someone from Norway who's so different than from the other person from Mexico. And so we all had so much fun with exploring our different cultures and the different feelings of life.
Isn't that beautiful and lovely that we can all be different
Yeah.
and find common ground, and to be able to value and appreciate each other? And I love that approach. I think it is so beautiful. Unfortunately, our world right now is very divisive, where the idea is, if we are different, then we need to concentrate and pay attention to everything that is different and everything that separates us, so that we can create an us and a them pile, and make sure that we don't like each other. And that is not the way that it should be. And it doesn't feel right. And instead of creating a beautiful symphony with harmony in it, it creates this cacophonic mess.
Yeah. Oh, and I think it's also a little bit what's intended, right? There's a whole, sure, there's a whole lot of conspiracy theories with it where we don't have to go into, but I think it's more something the older generation, us included, struggles with. When I look at my kids, they don't have these problems. They love connecting to their friends from other countries. And the reason I brought up this example to make fun of someone else was it was more like a family feeling, where you could like poke at someone, like saying, oh my God, you're from Germany, you're so stiff, or oh, you're from Mexico, you just all want to party and you take every chance to put on a party, or whatever it is, right? And we learn to appreciate the other person for being different, rather than creating this fake, oh yeah, I'm accepting everybody, but then internally you're like, oh, that person is so weird, I'm totally not accepting them, but I'm not allowed to say this out loud. So out loud I say, I accept everybody because that's the right thing to say, right? But when you come to this family level where you're living with them, it's like with your siblings, right? And you're just like, hey, come on, don't be such an XYZ, right? And step up and just be real with me, and don't pretend you're something you're not. And now suddenly you're having that real, authentic connection with another human being.
Isn't that beautiful? And I like that you brought up the point that it is okay to recognize our differences and to even talk about it, rather than to pretend it isn't there. And you have to be able to love and trust each other enough, like you said, like a family situation, to be able to tease a little bit. And sometimes when we're teased in a friendly way, not a bullying way, it helps us to realize, oh, am I stiff?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, am I? And then that gives you a chance to say, oh, well, let me look at myself, and maybe what they're saying is true. And then I can either say, but I like being stiff, or, you know what? I guess I don't have to be stiff. I could choose to do another way. But I'm a little more self-aware, because you helped bring that to my awareness in a way that wasn't demeaning. We were just having fun.
Yeah, and it's based in love and acceptance. When you can accept me as the stiff German, I can choose to be the stiff German, but I can also choose to be the stiff German that relaxes a little bit, because I want to practice relaxing and it's healthy for me. And then when you can take something from that and say like, oh, I find inspiration in you being on time all the time, which is a common issue here in Mexico. And they're like, this is so cool. every time I meet with you, you're here a minute before we're supposed to meet. I'm like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. He's like, yeah, but none of my other friends do this, but I love that about you. And I'm thinking like, okay, that's my German stiffness that I can't even be 10 minutes late.
I think that's a nice thing, that the being a little bit early and then the Mexican thing of being a little bit late, that would take some getting used to.
Yeah. And both works. And that's the beautiful thing in it. And as long as you have that love and that care for each other and you honor each other and you say, hey, that's how you do it, and that's how I do it, and both ways work, right? And now we're coming full circle to our conversation about religion. That's where it comes in. That's where acceptance comes in. That's where love comes in. That's where we're saying like, oh, you dress like that and I dress like this, but we both like care for each other. And I couldn't care less how you dress. I couldn't care less what name you give your God. I couldn't care less what party you vote for in the next election and who you think should be president. We're family. We're all family. The whole planet, we're family. And let's just all take a step closer to that rather than a step further away from it.
Oh, absolutely. And that is beautiful when we can be a family like we're supposed to be and just love each other. I think I love that. I love that. My husband and I, again, we had a conversation not too long ago talking about religion and how even though we believe different things, for the most part, we have about a 90% overlap where our basic things are to love God and to love people, to love your neighbor, to love each
And
other. If we can do those two things, we ought to all get along.
yeah. And I think we really need one more new religion on this planet, and we need to call it humanity. And it can be for everybody, and everybody's equal, no matter the color of your skin or your gender or how you identify or what your sexual preferences are, or if you're young or if you're old or which country you live, where we can all just come together and say like, you know what? We all just want to come from our heart. We all want the best for everybody. We all want to give and support each other. And I think it's time. It's time. We've been doing this stupid separation thing for long enough. And I think we're really at a point as a planet now where we're so close for this flip to happen, where we're all just going to come together and all the other stuff is going to be secondary.
Oh, wouldn't that be lovely? Wouldn't that be lovely to be able to just be kind to each other and to love each other? I vote me in. That's where I want to be.
So yeah, maybe that's the next big thing.
That would be sweet. Well, I would love to learn, if it's okay, a little bit more about some of the things that you are an expert in. And that is not only in the yoga, which we can't really do yoga over the internet, but how about someone told me that you had the best explanation of Kundalini rising that they had ever heard. And I said, what is that? So that was how much I knew about it. So then I had to look it up. But would you explain what it is and how it's a good thing or not a good thing?
Oh, it's a good thing. And it's one of these amazing things we as human beings are capable of. And just calling it Kundalini is already limiting it because we're putting a name to it, right? But it's this internal energy which we all have. And it's part of our energetic makeup as spiritual beings in this human body, expressing ourselves. And we all experience it in small doses on a daily basis when we experience our energy expanding. And it usually comes from the bottom of your spine and it builds up in this heat when those first three chakras, I don't know if your listeners are familiar with chakras, but these energy centers in our energetic makeup, where those first three chakras are very much connected to foundation, to grounding, to rooting ourselves, to having our feet on the ground. And when that energy starts rising from there and rises through our heart center, and then expands from there and then rises towards the head and rises to our intuition and rises to our connection through our crown chakra to the infinite, that's that Kundalini awakening or Kundalini rising experience where people suddenly feel connected with the universe, connected with God, connected with source, connected with Allah, connected with whatever you want to call it, doesn't make a difference. You just feel in touch with yourself while deeply grounded, connected up into the heavens, fully radiating love and compassion from your heart, fully inclusive and accepting, and you just feel present in the moment. And it all happens at the same time. And that's the Kundalini rising experience. We are like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. I want more of that in my life.
So I am connected to the earth. I have that root connection. I am connected to the heavens, and I am connected to everyone else. It is that feeling of connectedness. And I've heard other people describe it, but when I looked it up, because like I said, when I heard that, oh yeah, he gives the best description of this, I didn't even know what that was. I'd never heard that term before. So when I looked it up, it said it's like a snake coiled in your spine, and it kind of is this power that we have that can be unleashed. But if your chakras aren't open, then it can cause some problems. And so that's why some of them said maybe it was, you have to prepare yourself before you're ready to experience this. But that connectedness, it is all about connection.
That explanation you gave is very correct, and it's very technical, and it's also 2000 years old. So it's a little bit like, like you talk to a physicist about quantum theory and he gives you this complicated explanation. You think he's probably right in what he's saying, but I don't understand a word, right? So you need to, my experience with this is that we all have felt these small Kundalini rising experiences. And it's these moments of fully being present. And it usually happens when you're out in nature, when you're connecting with your kids, when you have a beautiful heart-opening experience. For some people, it happens when they play music, or when they're with a loved one, or when they're having this beautiful heart-opening experience, and suddenly they feel all these things, and they don't know what to name it. They don't know where to put it. But that is your chakras aligning. That is your chakras spinning in the healthy way, how they should be spinning. That's that energy which lies dormant like a snake that is curled up. That's why they use that example, right? Of it, because it's a curled up energy which lies dormant below your belly button. And now that suddenly gets released and travels up your spine, it's this beautiful experience. And for everybody who's concerned about the safety on these kinds of things, your body has this deep, deep intelligence. Like that's why modern medicine cannot heal a cut on your arm in the same way as your body can heal it in 5 to 10 days. You just don't have to mess it up and get it dirty. Your body will manage. If you have a problem internally with your organs, your body will fix it. You won't even notice. You might get a fever for a day and be like, oh my God, I hate my fever. Life is horrible. But your body is dealing with fixing you up. Your body knows how to do things. So your energetic body is even one level more intelligent than your physical body, because he doesn't have to drag along this physical heaviness of moving cells around, getting blood here, getting hormones there, getting proteins created there, right? On the energetic body, it can work much quicker and much more efficiently. So again, to come back to the point, for people who are worried about it, a Kundalini rising experience in a natural experience from practicing a breath, from practicing a posture, from practicing anything you can create inside yourself is 100% safe. Now, if you go the other route where you say, oh, I want to take a whole bunch of drugs and then practice Kundalini yoga and really expand myself, guess what can happen? You can burn out all your circuits, you can burn out your nervous system, and it can shoot you to places where you might never come back from. So big danger right here. Do not mix powerful yogic techniques and take drugs with it when you don't have a clue what you're doing, right? So that's where these kinds of warnings come from. And people just have to trust their own body, have to trust their inner knowledge, have to trust their inner healer, and to know that your body will know what the right thing is and how to handle it in the right moment.
Wow. And that involves letting go and trusting ourselves, trusting our physical self, trusting our spiritual self, trusting our intuition and following. And then, as you explained, the potential danger, that wasn't a matter of trusting self, that was a matter of trusting substances to be able to create that experience for you rather than doing it on your own. So does doing the yoga help to be able to get to this place of connectedness?
Well, what the yoga does, it prepares your body. So the yoga helps prepare your physical health. It helps to realign your chakras. Through the breath, you can really center yourself. And then when you go into meditation after the practice of yoga, that's now suddenly where you can go deep and where you can really connect with yourself and put your roots down and really ground and really connect with your higher centers and connect with your connection with the infinite. And that's when you really come to this moment of presence. That's the whole goal of meditation, to not live in the thoughts of the future, but also not live in the thoughts of the past and get overwhelmed from all that heaviness which comes from there, but to really feel yourself and to arrive in the present moment and let yourself expand and shine your light. And beautifully enough, this is what all these beautiful teachers have taught us. If that was Guru Nanak who founded the Sikh religion, or there was Buddha, or there was Muhammad, or there was Jesus, I mean, all these amazing beings of light came to this planet to share with us what it means to open your heart and to spread kindness and spread love and spread light. And then over 500 or 1,000 years, we came in there and said, let me make this a better religion. Let me change something here. Let me improve that. Let me tell people to just do it like this, because maybe I know better than Jesus knew. And so I can maybe make some adjustments to this, right? So that's really where I see the beauty of all these amazing beings who have come before us and shared these technologies and these teachings with us 2,000-3,000 years ago. And it's all right there. It's all there for the taking, and we can learn from it, and we can expand, and we can grow with it.
That is lovely. That's a beautiful message. Well, I think that'd be a great way to kind of wrap things up. Is there anything else you want to make sure that we cover before we close today?
You already brought up my website. One thing I'm super excited, and which I do every day, is I make little videos on TikTok. And I know there's people who love TikTok and other people hate TikTok. So if you're one of the people who's listening who loves TikTok, come check me out. I love putting content on there. I got a following going, and it's so much fun, and it's a great way to interact with me and to exchange. And so I would love to see more people there.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for visiting with me today. This has been a delight.
Thank you so much for having me.
In closing, I'd like to share a quote from Buddha. He said, "Just as a candle cannot burn without fire, man cannot live without a spiritual life." Today, I invite our listeners to kindle the fire of their spiritual life in whatever form that may take. See you next time on Linda's Corner. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode of Linda's Corner, please share and subscribe to help us reach new listeners. I also invite you to check out my nonprofit, Hope for Healing, at the website hopeforhealingfoundation.org for free ebooks and other free resources to help increase happiness, build confidence and self-esteem, strengthen relationships, manage stress, and calm feelings of depression and anxiety. I also invite you to grab a copy of one of my books, like Crushed, A Journey Through Depression, or Amazon bestseller, You Got This, an action plan to calm fear, anxiety, worry, and stress. See you next time on Linda's Corner.